Good morning, everyone, and it's another day, Thursday, I think, and it's we're jumping in on doing some plugins. We're creating our first plugin. We're doing some hooks to tell it where to put the stuff in the code, and just gonna jump right in today and get at it. So, switching to our code page so we can all see what's going on here. Okay, so I have a number of things here. Let me say hello. That's me. Okay, so what I have here is I've created I took the initial file for the multiplayer code, and basically we've got our settings that we've already been working with to call the plugin. And then I created a class called WTW plugins that are passing out some variables at this time. As we need other things, we'll definitely expose it through that class. And right now, what this does is it checks to see if get the file itself, so we have the name, and then we are loading our plugin based on this file here, which is our class. So this class here initiates, and then we do a few things. We define some constants, we have some hooks, and then we have a init class if needed. So coming in here, we've defined some variables right here. And then coming down here, the init hooks, we've created a menu item, which we did yesterday, so I've just kind of set it here in a different place. The other part is from the plugins, one of the functions that we have, or one of the variables, is plugin name, so I can check to see if we're on the admin page, which is the only way you're seeing the admin side. So if it's admin.php, and it's always lowercase, I change that when I pull the page name. When it's admin PHP, then we know we're an admin, and I'm going to tell it to load these particular things. I've left some room so that we can do some things when it's not in admin also. Then we have the player settings form, which was this full page form. I extended it just a little bit. The function is the same way we did yesterday. I put a note here that we're passing the form ID, that we want to call that particular div tag. Then the permissions to be able to see that, and then I created this as my function of what is actually showing on that page, and currently just have something there and just see it work. I put each one of these variables that we created up here, the defined constants, I put each one of them on the page. So with that, what we have is, let me bring it up here. There's the page, but let me just reload it just to show you. We've loaded the multiplayer. It only happened once. That's another thing I was making sure we did. That's why I put those words up there. I wanted to know that it only happened once. The plugin is activated. And if we go to multiplayer, that's our menu option that we just created. And what's that? Oh. And then we have this here, which is our settings that we just pulled in. So we have things like the path, which is if we want to upload files or if you need to know exactly where you are server-wise. We have the plugin name read in, the version, the URL if you're browsing something underneath this site or this particular folder, and then we have the prefix, which will be used for our database tables as we create them. Okay, so moving on from there, we're going to do some things here. We need to check and set, create some tables. We need to do all kinds of fun little things here. So let's figure out what's next. First, we did the admin menu, so I think it'd be a good idea to do the regular menu. And what I have right now in here, in this settings menu, which is shown on the admin and the regular side of the page, I have multiplayer settings here as a menu option, and then this form that pops up with it. I'm going to take those two and move them to the plugin because they're not part of the, they're not actually part of this. So I need to be able to add items on the fly to the settings menu here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to create, kind of like what we did with the admin side, we're going to create an array, and we're going to go ahead and populate that array using a couple functions, and we're going to build them into the plugin class. And well, we'll extend them through the plugins class. Right now the plugin, let's see, it's not the plugin loader, it's the admin menu that pulls that one. But we also have a menus, here's our menu class here. So what I want to do first is we're going to actually create the menu class, the items for building up the menu array. And this one is going to be very similar to what we did on the admin menu class. So I'm going to open up that menu there, and we're going to start in just the same way. Create this. Did I put it after the construct? Yes, I did. I like to be consistent about placement and where I'm putting variables and all the other goodies. So this particular one is just going to be called menu. It's within this class, so we won't have to worry about conflicts of names. And then we are going to, we don't have to preload this particular one because we're not going to read in all the other stuff. And okay, so we have admin menu item, we're adding one, and I'm going to copy this first, and now I'm going to create a function right here. And first thing I'm going to do is it's on our menus class, not the other class. Second is it's not admin, it's admin menu items, it's just add menu items. We could call it settings, setting menu items, settings, because we are adding a piece to this right here, to the settings menu, so that would be advisable. Okay, we're going to copy that here, and the other part is there is no submenu part here, so we're going to just cut that piece out. Access required. Everybody should see this. We could leave access required there because it could be something that logged on users see opposed to not. So we will leave that in place. Then we'll take out, like I said, we're not doing submenus in this area. Not at this time. We'll revisit that later if we decide we need to. And menu item is that. And instead of admin menu, we're going to put that into our, we'll call this settings menu. And there we go. Now we have a way to add items to the settings menu. Like I said, copying code from somewhere else makes that so much easier to do. In this particular case, that's the only reason I have that there, and I'm not even using this one. Okay, we aren't using that class. We're not going to put that in there. That had to do with something else. Let's see, was it even in use on this one? Just cleaning up a few things. I know I'm kind of talking quiet today, aren't I? I will have to speak louder. No. Okay, so basically that class was not being used anywhere in this one either, so let's fix that. We don't need it. We're not going to load it. And this particular one, we did use some things here, so this one I'm going to keep in place. Okay, so moving forward. Now we have the function to be able to add a menu item, so we're going to do just that. And what am I doing? Copy that, and we're going to go over to our multiplayer class, and right here we're going to add, we didn't pass it through the plugins function yet, so we're going to go ahead and do that too. We want it to all be part of this functionality. Just the end of the line, I'm just going to put the semicolon before I forget. And let's go in here. What do we have? Okay, so in our plugins class, we need to extend this function, and there it is, our plugins class. We're going to do just like we did on these other ones. We're going to bring in public. It's a morning for me. I know it's not always morning for you. Global, this is coming from menus, WalkTheWeb menus. And that would be the function. Now we should be getting it there. Well, actually, let's do it with the class name. Okay, so WTW menus with the plural. Okay, so we're good on that. That should pass it there. This particular one, I don't even know if we've told it to load that class at this point in time. Let's double check where that one gets loaded, because we need to make sure that by the time the plugins app runs, this file is already included. Let's see. I don't need that anymore. This is my multiplayer. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Menu is pulling here. That's not the class, though. I bet it's pulling within that core menu file, which means we need to move it up here so that it happens before the plugin loader. It would have to happen before this part, I believe. And we'll figure that one out in a minute. Let's see. So let's see if it's in the menu. Menus, menu, and we are loading it right here. Okay, so I'm going to move that to... We want this to happen sooner than later, so we're going to move it here. And we're also going to put it in our admin page. We have admin menus and we have regular menus. So we're going to load them at this point, and then when we run there, we're just running the class. So all we're doing is preloading it sooner. Okay, so now that we have that in place, and that's before our plugin loader and plugins class, so that will be available by then. That should take care of that piece of it. We didn't make any, well, we did make a change on that page. I'm going to leave it open for now. Okay, so now we run this class. We should be loading the plugins, and then we want to create a second piece, which is displaying them. So it will be a lot like this one. So copy that. And we're going to drop that here. We're going to have a little different design for this particular menu, so we're gonna have to match the other parts. But what I want to do is just kind of get the format in here. What am I using that for? Domain name, URL, location, if session ID. That's checking if the user's logged in. We do not need that piece because we're not rebooting them if they don't log in. And we will take that back to here. Okay, that's one little trick. Let's see, we have a lot of stuff because we have the admin menu array, which is now the settings menu. We'll get that in here, and I think that's the only place I actually grabbed it and used it. No, if count is 0, then we close the div. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and the reason I did this piece is because I basically wanted to sort it. So this is telling us, first of all, we're going to change this. Okay, we're going to say get settings menu. We're going to start at the top here, make sure we get all the pieces in place, and go down to here. We're getting this all. We're getting the pieces in place. What we're doing right now is we're actually adding we're adding a hook for our plugins to be able to add items to the general settings menu. We've already added items to our admin menu, so now we're going to do that. And we're going to keep on moving through the things where we can actually put in JavaScript and run it with the code and do all kinds of fun stuff. So we're actually building the hooks that are used by the plugins. We've already created our first plugin as a whole, activated it, and now we're putting all the pieces in place so that we can do the install of the plugin and we can do anything else that we need to do built into there. This particular one is basically, I have one for the admin menu, as you just saw, and so now I'm kind of using that same design to create this one here without having to rewrite everything from scratch. So coming up here, we have menu array sort. First of all, I'm going to get rid of everywhere it says admin menu array, and we're going to call that settings. Settings menu array. The reason is the other one was an admin menu, this one isn't. So we're going to make sure that we get it labeled properly. And was there any others on the page? I know my voice keeps dropping off today. Is it because I started a half hour sooner than usual? I don't know. Okay. Okay, so now we have the menu settings array, and we're telling it to sort menu, which is the menu item, I believe. It's going to be the menu item by name. It's also sorting menu sort, which is not... see, this is what I changed up. I'm not using the menu sort because the menu sort is an additional column. Menu sort, submenu sort. Submenu sort. We're not doing submenu sort, we're just doing menu sort. So let's take that. And I believe I get it by doing just one shot at it right here. And then I do not have to... This was a correction piece I was doing, which I don't need to do anymore. Let's temp menu item. See, I even reset temp menu item right there. This particular one, I was making sure the submenu items were underneath the menu items as displayed, so that wasn't a big deal at the time. And then I don't need to sort a second time. Actually, let's just cut out this one. And we're sorting menus. We're not sorting submenus. There are no submenus. Menu sort and followed by menu name. So if they have the same sort number, or so if they have the sort, same number of the sort menu, then it goes by alphabetical. And that takes care of that. Then we run through, and I'm not going to be needing that. In fact, I don't need that in this one either. That was a test data. Okay. We do not have subsort anymore, so that won't be used. Which also changed the dynamic of our menu here. Basically, submenu items are gone. And there's not... has permission, we'll leave that in place. And if has permission... access required. In this particular case, if the access required is blank, if has permission, or because we're allowing if it's null, so okay, or that will allow us to send a null value through there and still be able to not have to check the permissions, not have to use that. And then we have title menu item. Okay, this is where we start. If they don't have a title, then I give it a title of, yes, they do have a title. So we're going to make sure that it drops something in the thing so we have something to click, and then we can always change what we're doing with it afterwards. This, okay, we're building the setting menu, so let's get rid of that variable. Okay, and if I highlight this, I just want to double check, get all the spots where we're using it. And here and here. And finally, now we have the makings of doing this, but what we're going to do is, okay, on this menu, all we need to do, we don't even have to do this whole functionality because we do not have submenus. That's going to change our dynamic here a little bit. Okay, how do I use temp ID? I don't think I needed temp ID anymore either. Let me see. I didn't do anything with temp ID. Temp ID is blank, and temp ID helps me figure out what submenus they're under, which means we're not doing submenus. We don't need that anymore. And we don't need this anymore. And we don't need that because we're not checking to see if it's underneath a submenu, which means also we don't need that. We're just dumping in the items as they are, as is. That's the word I was looking for. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, let's leave all that stuff there for just a minute, just so that I have a pattern of what I did before. And what I want to do is go into the menu items, and if I come down to, let's see, where did I call it in the first place? It is multiplayer. It's this line item right here. So I'm going to take this, copy that, and we're going to be inserting into this menu right there every one of these items and what we want them to do when it is clicked. So, okay, I see what I did. Here we go. This is what we're remodeling, and we're going to put that like so. And I'm going to make it a variable all the way across. And now I'm going to clean up the fact that I have double slashes. I mean double quotes, not slashes. Okay. If you're just joining me, just want to let you know we're building the plugins. We're building the hooks so that when you write a plugin, you can drop things in different places. Currently, we're adding something to the settings menu that the user gets. The browsing user gets, so it's available to them all the time. We're just kind of mimicking our design of our piece here so that we get the same design and creating the menu items that we're adding, and then we're going to go ahead and drop them in place. So what we have here is, okay, open submenu, this, no, I didn't need to do that. That had to do with opening pages. All I need is to drop the function in here. And what I'm building is at the same time that I'm creating this is the actual line that I want to create. So it runs best if I tell it, see, there's the menu item here is the image, and there's no other ID. We're going to create an ID field here because we do want it to be, we do want it to have an ID so that you can call it from your code if necessary. So we put the ID in there, and then the on-click event, I don't want to delete that just yet because the on-click event, let's go back to our plugins page. Multiplayer. This is the line item that I created, and basically I don't want to lose some of the values here. I'm going to copy and paste them here as we go, which is, first of all, the on-click, what we're going to tell it to do is from here to there, changing it exactly as it is now. That's going to show a settings menu. It's going to hide the current settings menu. When you click an item, you know what, I'm going to put that in here all the time so that it automatically hides the settings menu when you tell it what you want to show. So in this case, we're going to do this and get back to here. There we go. We're getting it all in place. This particular function that we want to run is that. our access required. Everybody gets this, so I'm going to put null. The icon that we're going to use is, oh, well, first of all, this here now, since I've already taken out the function, we can replace it with this right here. This hides the current settings menu that you're actually clicking in, so we can open up and do something else without the settings menu actually showing anymore. So I'm going to leave that in so that everybody gets that piece. This right here is our icon that I'm going to use. You're, of course, free to use whatever icons you want in your menu items. It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, and then we have what menu it is, this particular menu item. And I'm going to go back over here. And first of all, let's put our menu icon, which is shown right here. That's why I left these pieces here, because I can just copy and paste and get them exactly the way we had them before. And that'll be there. And next is the name of it, which we're calling it this. Copy that. And actually, that's the ID. So I'm going to put that here. And it's also this part, because it is the menu that we're actually working with. The sort, I'm going to call it, I'm going to go mid-level, let's say 1 through 100. I'm going to go 50, so it's right in the center. And then for the title, multiplayer settings. Oops, helps if I put quotes around things, right? Okay, so the ID is this one. This piece here tells me what menu it is. Technically, we don't need that slug in here. That's why I kind of just used the same name for now, is because it has no other meaning other than dropping it in here. We're not doing anything else with it at this time. I'm going to go ahead and call this the name that you gave me plus the letters image, so that we know it's the picture that goes with it. Over here, we're going to replace that with the title. We're going to put the title in a couple places. So the first one is we're going to use it as the alt tag for the image. We're going to use it as the title tag for the image. I know some browsers like title, some like alt tag better than others. And then we're going to use it as the actual title there. So now, that creates the menu item, and it will automatically go through the set of anything we throw in the array, and it will generate the menu items there. So now, all I have to do is in my menu page that I was working with over here, in the menu page, when I get to this level right here, all I have to do is come in here and it would be WalkTheWeb menus, this function. Oh, and it's also echo it, because we're returning text and then we just have to echo it onto the page. For now, I'm leaving the other menu item in place because I actually want it to show both of them just so I can see that something actually happened. And let's see what that does in the code. 5, and we loaded the multiplayer. I'm not seeing any errors. And we've loaded everything to there. Look in here, and we have multiplayer settings. Now, when I click it, it is going to show me this. That's the next piece that we're going to duplicate back into our plugin so that we can use it. Okay, so jumping back in there, we want to be able to create one of these boxes for a menu item that they build on the fly themselves. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove that other menu item, because now we've automated that particular step. We can add more menu items in here just by doing them in the plugins or using that command line, which is this function up here. Anytime we add a settings menu item here, it will automatically put it in that menu. And they'll come up alphabetical unless you pick a different order by the sort order. So good stuff, good stuff. We are already a step ahead. Yay. Okay, so then the next part is when I bring up that menu item, what I'm actually bringing up is this multiplayer options page right here, from here to here. So what I want to do now is I want to put that in the plugin as a loading piece. Oh, I apologize, got something bothering my eye. Probably a piece of hair. No. My hair's getting longer. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. This piece is what I'm going to create. So we need to be able to do just that. And in this case, here's the part that I want to kind of help automate, which is this, by being in this class, this section, I hide them by default, and then I make them open when you click something. So I don't want to give full control of that div to the user. I want that to be part of the structure that I'm creating so that it automatically takes care of opening, and I can even include the close button so that what they're putting in the page actually starts here and ends right there. So that's the div area that they're actually working with, that they can put on their page and do anything that they want to with. Okay, so by doing that, I could even do it with the menu heading and the scroll bar part, because the scrolls are kind of, if I do the scroll, it comes up right. so I always do the scroll bar myself. So what I'll do is let's pass what we want to call this box, and then the information for the actual form within it. Let's do it at that level. So we come in here, and just like we did this last time, we did the same thing here. We created a function. Was it an admin menu? No, it's not an admin menu. It was in our plugin class. And that's the only place we're ever going to be using this anyway. So it's actually, it's in the, was it plugin loader? No, what am I hitting? Wrong page there. That's the menus. Let's check. Did I put in the plugin loader page? Because this is where the plugin loads, so this actually does make a little bit of sense to put it in here. We have the update stuff, set plugin. Oh, no, we didn't put it there. Where did we put the darn thing? Okay, so admin menu, we create that. You know what? I can find it pretty easily if I just look in the right place. Ha! It's a joke. Okay, full page form. Actually, I put this in here defining what it is, but then the code that puts it on the page. Oh, actually, it's written right into the... I know, I'm tracking it down, geez. Okay, so we just need to... We're going to mimic what this did right here, with the exception of we're adding a... we're basically adding a form on the top, a place to add the title and stuff. And then we're going to create this particular piece. Class plugin loader. We don't need that one right this minute. And let's go back to our menu. Plugins. Okay, so since we are creating menu items, we're going to do it in our menu class. Makes the best sense of where to put it. And let me... I'll do something like that. It won't be exactly that, but I like copying my format so that it's always exactly the same. I say that every time too, so I guess I'm always exactly the same of how I do it, including talking about doing it. Okay, so then in this class we aren't going to need that. I don't know if we'll need the database one yet, but we'll leave it for this piece, which makes sense. And then we're going to call this, to be consistent, I'd like to call that... actually, we didn't do this part yet. So this will be get menu form, and we're going to add a variable Z title, so that we can wrap it in something that becomes consistent, and we also can hide all the menus whenever they choose a different menu piece. So we'll call this Z menu form and get menu form. There we go. We have the structure that we want. Now we just have to tell it what we want to show. So get menu form, what we're going to do is we're going to cycle through, we're going to wrap and put this on the page. So what we'll need to do is, do I need to build an array of values? No, we're going to, no, we're going to just be kicking them out this direction and actually dropping them on the page per line that they type in their plugin. Okay, so starting with that, we're going to build it from front to back. And the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to, let's extend it to the plugin page like we do all of our other goodies. This particular one, is it a plugin function or is it a menu function? Okay, we're going to leave it here. Just because it is a menu function, it actually creates a menu item. And in our plugins page, we're going to like I said, I like extending out all the functions that I'm going to be using to the page. Then you don't have to remember where they're all located, because even me who wrote this ends up getting a little twisted sometimes where I need to, oops, I didn't mean to do that, where I get the certain items. But by using a plugins class and using it as an extension to other classes, you just have to include the plugins class. Now you got all the variables, all the functions, and everything else that you'd want to use from a plugin. So we just have to menus, yes. Think then type. No. Okay, so that will get the item and bring it from there. So now in our multiplayer, what we're actually going to do is this one creates the menu item, and we want to create the, okay, so plugins, and actually there's going to be two pieces here because I need to pass in the variable of what it, well, actually no. Yes, I need to pass in what we're going to put in the form. That makes sense too. So we're going to add another piece to that. So, okay, so we have the title, and then we're going to have basically the form data. So in this case, we're going to call it, since I use double quotes on everything else around here, I'll just do it that way. This one is multiplayer settings, and then I'm going to create a function just like I did here where it's doing this piece, and I'm going to actually put what I want to put as that menu item in the box. So to do that, I'm going to kind of, I know, just like I did here. We're going to do the exact same thing because this is where we're going to do it. So public, actually I'd say private, I'm not even going anywhere with it. But for now, I'll just say public. Okay, and that is multiplayer settings form. I should call that one admin and call this one this. Makes more sense. Okay, this one we're going to call it, we're going to change that to admin. And I should have done a mixed case on that, so we're going to fix that right now. Settings form, that makes more sense too. And we'll put that there, and everywhere that it said this, which was only this line right here. That's why the reason I renamed it was because we're still in the infancy of this page, so easy enough to do. Okay, and this is where I'm going to put this new function. Let's indent that. And global plugins. Oh, I don't even need that. We're just going to copy like here, form data, and that we're spitting back out the form data. And then we just have to, we're going to, since we just created this one, multiplayer player settings, doing the mixed case. Form, copy that, and I just going to put for now, just until we do it, just give it some data. Form data. Here we are. So that gets us there. Then we have this, and that's going to be this, and multiplayer form is going to be the data that we pass to it, which means in our plugin we're going to add another field that says Z form data. And drop that there, and back to our menus item, and add it here. Okay, so now for this piece, all we have to do is go back to our menus page, and I'm going to start by copying this whole piece, and let's see, how do I want to do this? Think of what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is going to be in our menu class back here. I'm going to drop this here, and then I'm going to get rid of some of the form information. We don't need this stuff. We want just this layer up to here, and that will wrap what we're doing in place and give us some type of, do we want to pass the ID so that we can create the form with the ID name? Actually, we're going to hide them all based on their class, so we don't necessarily need the ID of the particular form. Somebody could put an ID within the data and it would actually be fine there. We're going to try it without it, and if we need it, we can always add a name, pass the ID to it at a later time. For now, that's what we're going to put, and class menu options. I'm not going to leave that header there. That's going to be our title. Oops, what did I do wrong? Oh, I haven't finished out the rest of this. Okay, so then we're going to take this, copy that, and we're going to, helps if we put everything in quotes, which is what we're doing. We're building the array of values. So do this, that, and that line. And the end of the line, we need this on each line. That and that, and now fix a few of these. And I know I have a class that tells it to be hidden, but for some reason, some of the items on some browsers, if you don't physically say it and you try to check the style to see if it's none and it was done through a class, sometimes it doesn't actually show. So you'll see some places in my code where I set a style and the class, even though the class is hidden by default. It just tends to be the way that works. This one here, close menus, is cycling through, checking to see any menu that has that same class will close at that time. So that takes care of passing that particular thing. Gives us some menu functionality without having to go to the details of each thing. Okay, that one just becomes our hover over and our closeout, and there we go with that. And now we have our title, which has a particular setting for the class once again. Another reason why I wrapped it. And finally, we have this piece, which is actually, this one is going to need a name. So I guess we found enough reason to include a name in here. So let's go ahead and put ZID. And we'll pass that with the others. So once again, our plugins class, we're going to pass ZID. See, it's all in the way you say it. We're going to pass ZID. Okay, and we're going to do that from our original plugin where we called this particular app. Actually, it's in our menu class. We did that, we did the plugins, and now we need to change where we're calling it to include an ID. And here we go. This is where we'll be doing it. So let's call this one menu player form, just so we have an ID with it. And that particular thing in the plugins, in the menu, we're going to do two things with it. We're going to use it for, we will give it an ID on the form just because we can, and it's a good practice. And that also, in case you need it in your JavaScript, you can get to it and do something with that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to use that same name, copy, to do the multiplayer scroll. And then when it loads this piece, okay, so that should put that in there, drop it on the page. There's one more thing I usually do to size the scroll, and I'm probably going to be looking for that shortly here, but whenever I create one of these menu items, I do this function. Let me go back to our menu page here. I want to see where it's at here. Whenever I bring open one of these items, then the thing that I do is, actually, we passed it as the item name. So, knowing this is the item name, I think we're good. I think we're good with that piece. Just double checking. I know, just double checking, going through it in my mind. There's a menu item, and what it does is it tells it this item here, and it tells it to scroll based on that. So I think I need the same name that I used on the other piece. Let me check that class, or check that. I know, today I'm kind of working my way through it. I'm going into some uncharted territory where I'm changing a function to actually be based on, dynamically built instead of physically here already. And so I am kind of, building this as I go and adding items as we go. So just wanted to check this one more time. What I have is, when I call up this menu item, I say show menu item with scroll, and I tell it this. So this should have the exact same name as this. So menu form, it's kind of deceiving. We don't need the form name. We just need to know menu item name. So I want to make sure I label that properly so people know what they're doing when they use it. It's not the ZID, it is the menu item ID. So by doing the menu item ID, then we get the scroll to match the menu item name, and now the whole process kind of works. So that one is kind of an important name here to use. And now that we have that in place, when it goes here, we actually don't need this named because it's at a higher level on this box. It's already being written as a wrapper around this. Or is this the wrapper? This is the wrapper. That's menu item name, and we're going to add the word form to it. And then here, we're going to add the word scroll to it. So now we have the menu item scroll, we have this form ID based on that, and then we have the actual menu item. So we're kind of creating a couple different IDs based on what they called the menu item in the first place. But it's allowing it to be consistent. And so that's what I'm going to do for now. And we're going to then put on this form, in the form area, this form data. Now, based on that, okay, based on that, got to think about when I'm putting this on the page. When I created the admin menu items, I was actually telling it to add them to an array and then put them in the menu. That's what I did for the menu items here. When I did the form item, when did I call in admin? Let's see. When I create this add full page form, then where did I write that? That actually writes it. Let me follow that for a second. I know the function is just add full page form, and I know we're just passing that through here, and we have the actual function here. Oh, that helps. No wonder I didn't see two of them. We need that there. Okay, so full page form, all I'm doing is building the array of what the full page data is. Yes, I did do an array. Okay, so we're going to make sure we're doing what we need to do here so that we can load it at the proper time. This particular one, I created full page divs array. So we're going to go ahead, and when we initialize plugins, is it plugins? No, it's menus. When I initialize menus, we're going to go ahead and create the menu items array also, because we need to make sure we've got, okay, setting page divs. Settings forms. We'll just call it settings forms. It makes more sense. Settings menus and then settings forms. So this particular one, good deal. Okay, so this particular one, here's the deal. When I create these menu items and they when they go in here, then what I need to do is I create the menu item form, and then I need to add them. That's get menu form. I should be saying add menu form. We'll get that. We'll get that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. Add menu forms, and it'll be this add menu forms again, or settings form, sorry. I'm even saying it wrong as I'm doing it. Okay, and then this is going to be an array built on what came in here, which is we're wrapping this into this. Okay, now it's making more sense to me. I knew I had gone off on the wrong path there for a short time, and I just needed to make sure that I found where I was heading and get there. So we did it. We're going to say success equals false. We're just going to basically give it some feedback from this function. We're going to rename the function like it should have been renamed, and then we're going to do this. Z success. If it gets this far in the code, then it equals true, and then this is going to be what are we calling it? Form data. Z Z form equals array. The gang's all here. And I'm going to do this after we wrap the form into there. And I'm finally on a roll now because we're getting where we need to be. And welcome back, all you fans. I know I loosely use the term fan. You're not all fans. You're just checking it out and everything else. But okay, so basically what I'm working on today is I'm putting in the plugin hooks so that you can put things in different places in the interface and in the code so that you can tell it when to load scripts. You can tell it what scripts you have from your plugin and where to load them in. You can tell it if you have a connect type file that you need to do. It's all kinds of pieces here that you can run from. But if you're just joining me, we are doing 3D Internet. I dropped it out there open source. The link is down below. And we're in the middle of creating plugins for it so that we can actually load plugins on the fly. You can actually create plugins. We can activate them from the code. It's kind of like using WordPress for traditional sites, but this is WalkTheWeb for 3D sites and 3D games. So, okay, we have in the form, we're going to have title, actually menu. Let's be persistent. Menu item ID. We'll call it by the same thing we called it going into this function. And that will be that value. The next one is title. And that will go here. And the third one is menu form. And that will go here. It's form data. I know menu form and form data, I'm using two different words. I use form data here. I better use form data because that's what they're passing in. That's easier to be persistent about it. But I'm wrapping it in this, so I'm actually exporting that file with it. And since there's single quotes in here and everything, and this one I'm going to need to add, I think I'm going to need to add slashes to it so that it all works properly. Actually, the slashes are in from what I did, but I did double quotes and slash, blah, 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 blah. Let's try it without. If it doesn't work, then I know this is where I broke it. Okay, so Z-form goes in there. We're passing the items into this, and we're going to rename this one. Let's get all of our instances of it. And it's not going to be get form menu. It's going to be add menu form. Okay, so we're going to change that in those two places. We're going to change it in these two places. And now what we're going to do is, okay, so this is the actual item, and now we have not called this from our code, so the next piece is we have our, oh, get menu form. Why did I not find, that's really, oh, because it's not in this folder. Sorry. Okay, so get add menu form. It's going to add the menu form there, and that will allow us to dump in, here we are, into that item. Now, before we display it, the last piece here is we have to give it a way to spit this stuff back out on the page based on what it is. I've already done something similar right here. So we're going to just kind of, we're going to grab that. Actually, we don't even need to. Yeah. Okay, so this particular one, all I'm going to be doing is, I don't even need to check permissions. If they don't see the menu item, they're not going to pull the page. I'm not going, well, we should be adding permissions, I know. That would have been a wise thing to do from the start. That's why I copy these ones from the ones I already did, because it does tell me when I'm doing something that I should add a little bit more to it or not. And this particular one, I'm going to go to the menu page, and from right here, we're going to, this is where, well, actually, you know what? We can dump it to the bottom of the page. We're near the bottom of the page anyway. The menu chat pops up. Okay, so we're going to do it at the bottom of the page here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to call this, we're going to call a function that actually dumps the things on the page here. So I'm going to create the function. I know, I just copied that stuff into the queue here. Let's drop it here. That's going to be similar to that. Let's wrap that with a function name. Okay, do this and this, just so we have our basic format right. And now we have a function that has nothing to do with the one we're on. So we're going to say, this will be, what did I call the other one? I like to be a little persistent with my naming of different things. I didn't actually do one there. I did one in the admin menu, and it's called add admin menu, and finally get admin menu. Okay, so if we just called it get admin menu, we're going to just call this get menu forms. We'll call it that. We'll get rid of this part of it, and this will be the menu forms. Working our way through this. We're getting there. We're getting there. And that's what it's going to be returning from here. Get menu forms. And this is in our WTW menus class. So at the bottom of this page, we're going to say echo WTW menus this function. And that should spit out all of our menus that were created and put into this array. Then we'll finish up that part of it over there in just a minute. Is this class already initiated on this page? Yes, we did use it there, and we called it up here, so yes, we have the global. Just want to make sure the global is in place. So that'll put that there, and for now, I am going to take out this particular line, or this whole block right here, because we're rebuilding this block on the fly. So I don't want it to be sitting in the code and have the same name conflicts. So let's grab that out of here. I'm going to move it to the bottom of the page where we're working, just so that we have a reference to it when we jump on this page. And that's what we're going to be replacing on this page. So go back to our class menus, and the first thing is that's not the class. This one's the class that, or the array, sorry, the array that we're going to be using. And each one is going to be the form, just for persistence of what we put into the array. Then we have from zform, everywhere this says this, we do that, and then I'm going to leave a couple things in place here because we are going to be using them. Menu item ID. Okay, let's do that. Title, and we need one that says title. Oops. Okay, so we are grabbing three things, and I'm not getting rid of the access required part yet because I kind of like that idea. So let's work with that, and we'll get that part in here, but I'm not going to pass it just yet. I'm just going to remark it out until we see everything work this far, because we did do a lot of steps to get this in place, and I would be rather shocked if I get through it the first time and didn't and it actually works. Actually, we can call for well, it's not going to find that piece, so I'm not going to fret that part right now. We're going to take those things out of place, and now what we want is this menu item. If it comes up blank, I still need to have a menu item name, so I'm going to make sure that it has something there. It'll still fail. It'll show all the time because that isn't set right, but at the same time it will it'll give us some type of object to work with so that we have something. And then we have form data, and that will be here. Okay, and I don't know why we have, if it's empty. It's never going to be empty because we put the wrapper in with the form data, so there's no reason for us to do that part. And then here's where I did a wrapper. That's why I did it that way. That actually makes more sense. We're going to move a couple lines. It's not tragic. So basically what I did was I wanted to see if they actually sent something in here. And if they did, then we show it on the page. But if they didn't, we don't bother creating the box. So I only wrapped it when it actually worked. So all we're going to do is move. Oops, it's right above us here. All we're going to do is take this wrapper function here, right there, and move it to this part down here, because then we have our wrapper in place based on what we need it to do, and putting the form data in place, and now it's wrapped the way it should be. We have our title, I'm just making sure that the functions, that's all the same. Okay, so then form data is the same name, and the other one we need to change is menu forms, which is the piece we're putting together. We just need this to, we're adding them all into one. So putting them into one variable and then passing that out. So now we've wrapped it at this level, and we only wrap it in something if there's something to create. So I could double check that they give us the menu item name, and if they didn't, then we could actually not create it, because you're not going to be able to get rid of it on the page anyway. So that's a possibility. We may still go that route. But now we should have something. So let's see what something we have. First of all, does it load without error? No, of course. And we have undefined variable z menu form on add menu form. Come on, load up. Don't lose it. You were doing so well. Come back. It's not the blue screen of death. There's more here. For whatever reason, it needs to reconnect to my site. Come on. And connection has been lost. We know that. We're catching up. At least it's not a streaming delay or anything. It's basically going from one of my servers to another server within it's remote desktop that did it. It wasn't a problem with the internet connection where I'm running from. Okay, so where did I type in? Okay, it was in add menu forms and z menu form. Because it's form data. That's why. That would be the piece that I broke when I moved the other stuff. And now let's see if that loads. Okay, we still have one. Add menu form illegal offset type. That's a good one. Add menu form. I'm guessing the form data. No, the form data that I'm sending in here is actually just that. It's just a piece of text. It's not. It should only be a piece of text, because right now when we use that plugin and we added it on our plugin page, let me go over there. Here, when we added that item, we did this, which returns no more than, here we are. That's all it's returning. So we shouldn't have a problem, but since it said offset, we have 3 menu items. We pass that through our plugins, and there's 3 menu items, 3 menu items. It's just passing straight through. Going to here. Okay. It doesn't like something about that, which means there's probably a comma shooting through because of, well, no, there's nothing there. Okay, let me take this out of play for a minute, and let's just see if everything else comes up, and then we'll backtrack. We'll fix this piece. Got to get something working before you can fix everything. Oh no, see, add menu form, illegal offset type. So it had nothing to do with that, which is, I guess, good to know. Did I leave? Nope, get menu forms. It's named the right thing. Okay, it's just those 2 places. It has to be coming from one of these 2 places. You know what? I can find another clue over here. And did it cut? No, it didn't give us a... Okay, so it's catching the errors. So let's see what it caught at this level. I just want to see. And yeah, illegal offset. It's just writing the same thing. Okay. So what did I miss? We have that. Okay, if anybody sees it, yell out. Shout out. I'm missing something here. We have that, we have that, we have that. Admin's forms. When they give us this error, illegal offset type, what would that normally mean? Is that meaning there's a common something and it's treating it as another variable coming into the parameters? Let's see. Stack Overflow, PHP, and that item. Let's see what it's saying. They did an array, and... Oh, I know what I missed. I know. I'm trying to add... Oh, I know exactly what it is. That just gave me a clue just by seeing that much. It's this. I called it this. I meant to do that, the count of these, because that would be the offset and that would be the item we're trying to add. So that makes sense. So now refresh the page. And we get a page in here, and let's see. Okay, so we'll track down why that isn't load user settings. Oh, I think there's one that actually does something, interacts with this. So we'll have to move that piece also. Okay, so I don't need that open, but how about this? We have multiplayer settings, and when I click it, it doesn't do it, but let's track this through. There's a couple pieces here. Well, first thing is, let's look and see, did it actually create, oops. Where would it be on the page? Let me click this first, set this, and click around there, because we set the menu item there, and then we have these different divs based on what we created. So there's our remarked out one that we created, and here we go. So we have the multiplayer form. It is here. It has, here we are. So we have the basis of it, but we're not opening the right name because I named it there. Oh, I have the form name in the wrong place. Because the way I wrapped it, that should be the item. Multiplayer form. I'm just thinking this through. We have the menu item that we created, then we have the name of the form that we're actually passing. Before I called it WTW menu multiplayer form, or not form, but multiplayer. Here I want to call it with the word form, so I need to change where I'm calling this function to open it, which is the click event here. We need to change that. So let's look in our, we just need to make some things align here, but we're very close. Okay, so we have the item that we created and the function that it runs when we do it. So show menu with scroll, we should be able to say multiplayer form. Then add menu form. See, I should be able to give you the choice to make it match, because if you see they match, then I'm not playing beyond your control with what you're doing. And I don't necessarily need, let's do it this way. I'm seeing a method to my madness, and it's gonna straighten out something for us. We are gonna call this it would be the menu ID. No, the form ID. I'm trying to give it some names that actually make sense to everybody. So we're going to pass the form ID through that. We're going to go back to our menus, and we're going to be passing the form ID here. We'll call it form ID there. And when we do this part, it'll be Z form ID. Whoops, I already had a Z in there. And take the Z off there is what it needs to be. So now we have the form ID, that's what we're passing, and basically here, I'm going to look at that in a second. And so it'll be the form ID. We don't need to add the word form, but it's going to be that with the word scroll here. I believe that's going to take care of the issue that I was just thinking of. So let's test that out. Load the page. I don't need that open. And by the way, that's only opening because I have show updates page in the URL. Okay, so we do this and we have multiplayer settings and okay, it's closing it, but it's not finding it to open it. So let's double check. In that code, I might have something that I'm actually telling it to append something or whatever in the name and do it. So let's see here. Let me just dig a little deeper here into our function. We know we're getting our form. So we have our form now. It's labeled correct. And we also have the scroll bar within that. And here we are. So this particular one is what we're trying to do when we click that event. And let me double check how that particular event works. I think it's whatever way I wrote this function. So I'm going to look for this function, show menu with scroll, here it is. And in here, I take the menu item, I tell it to show it, which is really straightforward by name. Just give it the ID and it'll do that. And then I have it checking for the word scroll after it, and I have it resizing what it needs to do based on that. That's pretty straightforward. That should be getting what we need, and that should be showing the menu. So let's see. Let's do a test here. Log. We're going to tell it in the log what we're trying to do and just see if we get it this far in the code. So menu item. And we should be getting that. Okay, take that to there, and I don't see anything else wrong with that piece of it. Now, so instead of keep on loading this every single time with this piece, I'm just going to drop that piece right now, and now we can go to here, and we don't have to open up that every time. And okay, so once we've opened this, if we open this and click, go to the console, we have a couple menu settings. Okay, so that was the menu settings here. Now this is WTW multiplayer form. Did I type that wrong? Or in fact, that could be the case. Let's double check multiplayer form. How did we call the actual words? In our plugin is where we actually named it. So go here and WTW multiplayer form. Does that match? We are stating it correctly there. And I don't know why. Oh, there's a good reason why. We're showing the multiplayer form in the settings menu without telling it to re-show the settings menu itself. So, no, actually, is it in the menu, setting menu? No. It is standalone. Wait a minute. Let me double check that. When we put something here, it is standalone. Is there a... I think there's a parent. Let's double check what parent I am not opening, because I think that's what the case is. When I click here and go here, actually just even this open, it's not in the settings menu. Where is, let's look. I want to make sure that I'm not nesting this menu. So right here we have, that's the menu item. Let's go to right here. I have this div at this level. Okay, so if I go to this one, is that or is that not underneath another item? Trying to see where it's nested. That's this menu. And do I still have it there? Yes, I do. So it's not inside that menu. Those are all fine. You know what? It's not in that menu. And it has the right class, so it should have shown just like the other classes. Okay, let's double check a couple things. Let's dig a little deeper, but it's not nested, so that all answers that question. The next piece is if it's not nested, then when we call this item in here, show menu with scroll, let's go back to here. Oops, let's go back to here. And let's find out. See, show menu item, it should have automatically found it and shown it right there. Try to make sure nothing's running after it that would hide it. Let's see what happens when let's check it in a couple places here. I just want to see that it's actually getting into here. Well, that's doing the scroll bar. I don't even care about the scroll piece of this right now. Let's remark that out. That's not going to matter. It either finds it or it doesn't, and then it resizes it. It's not going to bother. In fact, we don't even need to remark that out. That's not going to be a problem. But show menu with scroll should have shown the menu. And, oh, you know what? We should actually have that information right here. Let's first check, see, display none visible is hidden. It's still hidden. Wait a minute. Menu multiplayer form. That's not the right name that we were just looking at. This one was created by what we did, and it has the word menu multiplayer form, and the other one didn't. Where did I check that? Sorry. Okay, I think we just found out why it's not showing it, because, okay, multiplayer form, and this one's adding menu multiplayer form. That would do it. Okay, sorry about that. That was my mistake, and took an extra minute to see it. I even think I looked at that 2 or 3 times as a first choice of what to check, and I still ended up with, oh, here we are. There we go. We got a multiplayer form, and we brought back in that code. So now that we have that code in there, now we can actually put the code that we want in there and see if we break it or not. No. No, actually, the only reason I think we might break it is because if we have to add slashes to the code or anything. But since we're already creating it as a menu item that's already slashed, it's a matter of wrapping it in single quotes would be ideal, because then we catch any single quote that's already there. So with that said, let's go back to our menu page here, and what we have is through the scroll is already created by our wrapper. So the only thing we need on this page is this information right here. So if we come in here, let's say copy that, and we go back to our, actually it's our plugin is where we're adding this code. Multiplayer plugin, and we are creating, here we are. That's where we're going to put this. This is going to go right here. Now, like I said, we should be good. We're going to find out. I'm going to go ahead and put this at the beginning of every line. Let's indent some things. Okay, let's start there. Put this at the beginning of every line. Oops. I even missed that twice. I even clicked twice. Okay, here we go. We're creating the menu items here, and and that takes care of that part of it. Oh, I didn't make page down. Jeez. I switch. I have to tell you, I switched keyboards like a beginning of the week, and so for any of you coders out there, you know what that means. That means that every time I try to hit a key, I'm hitting the wrong key. It's a different layout than the one that I had before. So I'm like one key off and missing things by just a fraction. My depth perception feels off. I'm blaming everybody else in the world. No, just kidding. And for a short time, it'll mask the fact that I'm not that great of a typer. Okay, so then I'm going to escape out the double quotes in certain places here. And then, let's see, is there any more there? No, we're good. Okay, catching it down to here. And these are our menu items and our styles that we use for the menu item type displays. Let's get these in place. Show help. And just moving my way across the page here. And there. Try and grab whatever ones I can see in the part that I'm currently looking at. Then I'll scroll over the page and catch some more. And let's see, we have this one and that one and here, and that's a long one. Let's go to the end of that one. I like getting start and finish of each one as I do them. There we go. And cursor. There's a method somewhere in here. Okay, we go from there to there with the style, there to, let's catch a little more over here. And just going through and marking all these on blur and our different events, telling it what to do. Okay, that class is cut. We have these items here. I know I could have done a search replace, but at the end of that, it always takes me away from the function I'm currently working on. So I just did it this way. Okay, and scroll over. Catch this one. We're almost there. We're almost there. And these. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Okay. Scroll. And let's see how good we get here. And did we get them all? Nope, there's another one. Okay, how do we do? I see something else here. And that one. Okay. If it wasn't for the shading of colors, I'd probably miss half of those. And looks like we got them all. So that should be the form that we're now spitting out when you click on that link. Okay, let's see. How did we do? Let's go back and refresh our page and take a look. And here we go. Dun, dun, dun. Let's check the console, just see if we actually break or work anything. And when I click multiplayer settings, we now have our multiplayer settings form, and these items are open as we told it to, and multiplayer's on. We can turn it off and on, and this one also off and on. We're going to be moving over all that function into our multiplayer plugins so that they don't exist into our main code until you actually load the plugin, so you can actually add or remove it. But that's another piece that I'm tracking down. I'm kind of building the multiplayer plugin and pulling it out of the code and putting it in the plugin file while I'm making all the hooks necessary to make it work. So it gives me a good project in the making to get it into the right place as I go. But everything's working pretty good here. We now have a multiplayer settings. And notice how, oops, can we close it? No, we cannot. We missed something there. Okay, and I'm glad I tested that. So we're going to click on this area here. When I create this, and it gives me the close button, then I have a feeling we need to tell it, where's my on-click? On-click is close menus. Okay, what I want to do is in close menus, I want to make sure that I'm closing everything based on this menu bar. So let's go check that. Before I click on it though, I want to, okay, before I go there, it'll be just a second. Let's go back to here real quick. And I don't want to leave anything spitting logs out on the page, so we took that off. And now I'll go to the menu, close menus, which notice how it is closing menus, but they're all listed by name. We're not going to do it that way. We're going to check and see, okay, get elements by class. I know I've already done this function, and so I don't see a reason to keep both of them here. Okay, it's the full page right here. Okay, this little patch of code right here will go through and show or hide based on what we're doing. That's what I actually want to use. I'm going to double check and make sure that that class is only being used in one place. Otherwise, we'll rename class. We'll create a new class and then name that class anything that we want to use in this area. So let's see, where was I? It was in the common. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to first just set this here for a second, and I want to check when I run this menus file and I'm using this right here, I want to see where this is all being used. If it's all being used in this one function, or okay, so we have menus, which is fine, that's our class, and it's being used in the menu page, and that's it. So that's the only place I use this particular menu item or this particular class, which means the good part is I can tell it when I click on this, I can run one piece right here, and I can say anything that has this class, go ahead and, okay, so let's see, we're going to do a bar, and these particular ones we called menu forms. Call it menu forms just for consistency, and we have full pages, turn those over to menu forms. Okay, so now what I'm doing is anything with that class, cycle through and get rid of them, which means we can now see that menu register is, we can just make sure these are all in this particular class. See, menu register is not in there. We may need to just check that, but password recovery, nope. These are sub items within another menu item, so I don't want to mess with those. In the register, no, okay, we're fine with that. Okay, menu avatar. See, because if they're listed here and they're part of this, then, ooh, that one has extra functionality. Okay, menu controls. Menu controls is just basically hide the item, so we can do that by its class, so we don't need it here. Menu help is there. Menu profile's there. Menu settings. Yep, that's top one. Menu multiplayer, that's the one we just rebuilt. Menu shadow quality. Let's see, is that? Yep, shadow quality and graphics quality are both there. And movement speed. Yes, so now we made it more functional. These particular ones had some sub-menus that needed to be worked with also, so I'm going to leave those in this function. But now this function will catch anything, and no matter how many different forms they add to the page, it will close them all as long as they use that class name Well, actually, they don't even have to worry about that because I did it on the wrapper part. So it's automatically going to close those pieces. Okay, so everybody's still with me. Let's test that out. Okay, and basically when I run it from here, when I come through here and choose something, let's say shadow quality, we have it. We can close it. We can go multiplayer settings, and now we can close it, so that worked. And I just want to see if I go shadow quality and then I go profile and I close this. Yep, it's already gone behind it. So it looks like my function is taking care of the other pieces that show up behind it. So no matter what I do, at least we're getting all the other items closed. Okay, so that wrapper worked. It will take care of the opening and closing of it. And all they have to do is basically, use a little JavaScript to tell it to open the item. The only other part I might do is currently in that class. Currently in this class, what I have is, the JavaScript that I'm calling is called show menu with scroll. I don't think I need to tell you that I'm adjusting the scroll because that's all behind the scenes anyway. So if I just say show settings menu, then basically that becomes even cleaner. So let me see if I've used that name. Settings menu. Oops. First check to see if that name's in use anywhere. And find in files. Okay, I didn't. That's a good sign because I'm going to take this in the code, find all, and replace with that. Replace in files, yes. And this particular file is in a different folder that's not being caught by the general, so I'll manually change that one, and now that takes care of it everywhere in our code. And just to double check, now it's a lot friendlier. Show settings menu. You're creating a settings menu item. It's, add settings menu item and show settings menu, add menu form. That's the name of the form, and it's going to show whatever form item you put there, and it'll just pass it right on through the code. So it kind of has the full, it has a common feel within itself. The other part would be is if we want to add the array of permissions and have it double check that. Since we got all this piece to work, we're going to go ahead and do that one more step. I can leave it null for this case because I don't, if somebody's not logged in, I don't care. They can still see that settings item. Or maybe we will only want them to go multiplayer if they've created a login. That makes perfectly good sense at times, but I don't know. The other part is they can't chat, and there's certain things they can't do if they don't have the, if they're not logged in. So we've already got that covered in different areas. But for now, okay, so one last piece here. Like I said, we're going to add, since we already have all these other pieces in place. And notice we don't even show the menu item from where I was just at. Let's see. I'm only showing this menu item. Actually, I'm showing it to everybody. So I'm using null. I can make it where the menu item doesn't show up by permissions, and then the form doesn't show up by permissions. And if I match them, we're all good. I might want to inherit that, but nah, it's okay. We can have something beyond the page and then call it from other means. Let's say you add this form piece there, but then you have something in your JavaScript that you want to be able to call that up from the scene, from wherever. I want to give you all the freedom that you can do with those. Okay, so something, I think we're in pretty good shape here. We kind of completed a full process, did a full loop. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'll be back with you, and then we'll throw the permissions in here and take care of that. So if you want to bear with me and give me a 5-minute break, I've got a pedometer, and I'm going to do a couple steps, and I'm going to refill my coffee cup and all the other goodies, and I'll be right back with you. So be right back. 5-minute. Yeah. Okay, I'm back, and yes, I'm going to call you guys out on something. Okay, you guys got to help me out here. This is something I did, and I think I've done this before, but at the same time, it's something you guys can keep me honest about. Is, first of all, the video of where you see me happens to be where I'm working. So when I jump on this page and say, hey, here's how this thing works, and I click on this menu item and stuff, I'm blocking my own vision of what I'm trying to do. So, just to be safe and just to be sure and everything else, call me out on that, because basically what I can do is if I click this other button in the setup, okay, now I'm on the other side of the screen for you, and basically you can see what I'm actually working on. So when I say we added this dynamically, multiplayer settings, we click on it and it opens up this box. This box is what we're actually seeing. So that's the first time you guys get to see it, huh? Okay, basically what this does is we've added this dynamically. We've created the piece, we've blah, blah, blah. Everything's in place here. So this whole section here, we are able to create these on the fly. We wrapped it, so they give us a title and it goes here. It automatically has the functionality to close because we wrapped it with something that has a class, and we're closing everything by the class when you catch another one. So yeah, so no problem, but we do have those items in here, and that's what we're being able to drop on the page. So if you're designing something, if it's in the admin menu, if it's over here, if it's wherever it's at, and you want to know, or you want to be able to pop up your own little settings menu, that's this form div that we just created right here. So we can use this function, which is in our plugins. There's a add menu form, and that will allow us to create those menu items. And in the same way, you're going to get this example. You're going to have the multiplayer. I'm going to publish this out as a plugin, and you're actually going to see it as separate code on the on GitHub. So you're going to be able to get this code separately and work with it. But multiplayer settings form, basically using that, it's this one, I'm sorry. Multiplayer right here. And basically what we have is add menu form. It goes here, and we just design what we want it to lay out and look like inside of the box of that menu structure. So we've already done that piece, and it all looks good. The next thing I want to do here is we just mentioned that when we pass this in here, what we didn't pass is the ability to set the permissions. And we need to be able to say that, hey, if you're not in this particular role, then you don't get to see this. Like if you want to say, hey, if you're not logged in, then you have no access to this piece. That's the kind of stuff that you need control over. So I'm going to put it, let's see, what's our natural order? We have our ID, we have our type, our menu item, we have the actual form itself. Let's put it last, just because we can. Right now, I'm not going to set any permissions yet, but then I want to purposely use a role that I'm not in so we can see that it doesn't pop up when we do it. So we'll test that out. Okay, so admin menu form, what we're going to do is we're going to be passing, it is Z access roles. I think that's, no, access required. I want to be same information that we did on these other ones. So we're going to pass access required. Go to this page and pass access required into here. This is where we're actually doing it. And here's where, let's see, we want to pass that into the part here. So access required. And we're just adding it right into the array that we created. And then when we get to this part, access required comes through, and we're going to read that in. And we're going to check to see if it exists. If it's null, we want to make sure that this still works. So null or blank is everybody's allowed. That's the way we're going to treat it. So we're going to do that. If access is allowed and that has permission, or empty, or not is set, which would cover us with null. See, we handled null and we handled the blanks. And then basically it only creates the actual form and puts it on the page. It checks it at that level. So you can add something to the menu array. It doesn't mean much. It won't end up on the client side. It won't end up on the HTML unless they have access. Then it actually generates it. Okay, so we added that piece, and now we should be able to test that. First thing, let's make sure that it shows up on the page. And we can come in here, multiplayer settings, and I can see this form. So let's double check that. The other one is, yes, I added the access required on this one too. Okay, so we have that in place. And if I go back to my own plugin and I say, okay, I want to add some permissions, and I'm purposely going to pick a role that I'm not in, which is, well, let's pick a role that doesn't exist. That's one way to tell that you're not in it. And let's see if that does it, or do I need to pick a real role? I can double check that. That didn't like that. And I know why it didn't like that, because it didn't put it on the page. And look, we don't have that form. So if you're not in that role, then you don't see it. Now I know I'm in the admin role, and we're just going to test it one more time. And actually, it didn't show up there. Let's find out. Ray admin. That one should have allowed it. So let's check and find out why it didn't. Because that's a piece that we've even used this already. We've already checked the roles on this particular one. I used admin there. I don't think it's a single or double quote thing. I think that's perfectly fine. I'm curious. I may not have it handling single arrays for some reason, which would be really weird if I didn't handle that. But let me see. If I put two roles in here, do I see the item come up? Or did it not refresh the page? I'm sorry. There's a chance that when I refresh that page, it actually didn't upload the new version, because it could have been cached a little longer than that. Okay, so we can see it now. And I think that's all it was. Let me take developer out of there. So now we have just admin in the array. And we're going to double check. We're going to first want to see that it works. And it works because I'm in the admin role. And then I'm going to see if using a test role that I'm not in. And I can already tell by that it couldn't find the item altogether. And we don't have an item, so it doesn't pop up. And we're good to go on that. This particular thing, load user settings. Oh, that's fine. That has nothing to do with the code we just wrote. That's another place I used something doing with the multi-user piece. I'm going to be moving that code to the plugin, so it only activates when it's in the plugin. So that kind of stuff is going to be part of a hook. It'll be part of a page load JavaScript event. Okay, so that actually covers all those various areas. We're in actually really good shape with this piece now. So that works. We can hide it from everybody just by permissions. We can also, notice I can do the same thing with the actual menu item. At any time I can say, hey, you got to be part of this role to even see this menu item. And now when I load this up, notice it's not even here. So we have full control in our statement if somebody can see that or not. We've passed the role and we've built it accordingly. Yay! And the crowd goes wild. No. Okay, there we are, and that takes us through this whole process. Oops, I didn't refresh the page. See it? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's usually pretty good if it's even a couple seconds later. See, there it is. All I did was refresh it twice. And there we are. So we have the menu item, we have it all working, and it's good to go. So far with our plugins, we can now add menu items over here. We can create full pages over here and tell it whatever we want it to say. We can create items down here, and we can create the menu item that it shows up, that it pops up. So we're getting the fluff in place. So going in through the next couple days, what we'll be doing is we're going to be digging in farther onto the scripts so that you can input your JavaScripts and load them into the pages so that you can use them in functionality in the pages. We're going to keep on creating hooks. I'm going to be using this multiplayer plugin as a model for doing these hooks, and that's basically what it is. We're just going to keep on putting these pieces in place, and as I need more hooks, we'll keep on adding them. As we come up with ideas of things you want to do, you can tell me and extend your ideas to me and tell me what you need, and we'll make sure we do those too. On the GitHub page, I want you to also know, on the GitHub page, there is an issues place. I will keep an eye on that. I'm getting notified if anybody puts anything there. So basically, go ahead and use the issues. If you're testing the code and you're trying things and you find something that doesn't work right, put up an issue on there. It may be something that we have to look at an enhancement to cover. It may be something that we want to do in the future. But go ahead and we can label them as ideas for enhancements, but we can also label them as hey, this should go in a plugin, instead of the core product. Keep that in mind too, because we want to make sure we're tracking plugin ideas separate than actual, issues with the program and stuff. But we want you to report things that you see so that we can correct them and get it working. We want to make this product the best it can. So help me out with that and make sure you're logging in issues if you see something that needs a look at. Don't abuse me when you write them up. Just let me know where you find it, what conditions, maybe you clicked on a certain item or you were trying to do a certain thing and here's 3 steps you did to get there. Whatever it is, do what you can. If you have to do a screenshot, you can include them in your issues. So you have a lot of ideas of how to get there and how to show me what they are. But keep that in mind and we'll keep plowing forward. And thank you for hanging out with me, and definitely another step in the right direction. So we'll keep plugging away. But have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow.